I think maybe a start for people who are not familiar with NLP, I could just give a brief overall idea of what it is, and then perhaps you'd want to do that as well with the
Fantastic.
others. NLP has been around about 32 years or so, and it's grown in popularity because it offers those aha moments, that we seek and talk to wise people and go to seminars and all to have those. It just simply makes sense. Its name, neuro, relates to what's happening in our minds, and linguistic refers to like language and how we use it, and then programming tackles those persistent patterns of behavior that we have, that we learn, and then we repeat them over and over, and then we get the result we don't want. But it also can work in our favor to get the result we do. And I would describe it as the art and science of communication, and maybe even more preferably to say that it enables you to understand what makes you tick, and how you think, and how you feel, and how you make sense of everyday life in the world around you. And I think when we're armed with that, then our whole life and our work and our play, in a way it becomes magical because it's working the way we want it to. So that's my brief description of NLP.
Wait, no, and I'll go on and explain EFT and LOA here in a moment, but learning NLP for me, it's been challenging to really articulate to others who've asked me about it. Well, how exactly has it improved your life? And what I really liken it to is it is like a set of tools that have become so much a part of my being. For example, some of the presuppositions, the map is not the territory, and change is change. Some of them that just lay out certain values for me have just assisted me in integrating greater principles for obtaining my dreams and creating success easier. What have you found to be true for yourself?
Yes, I think that, after teaching it so many years and studying it and working with the principles of it, it's those presuppositions that have become part of my life. They resonated with my values and have strengthened them. So they've just become an unconscious way of life for me.
Yeah, that's what I've experienced as well. So, and when it comes to emotional freedom technique, it was about 9 years ago, and I'm always going to be able to keep up with how long ago this was, because it was when I was pregnant with my second child. It was Ashlyn, and I was had a particular difficult client who I'd been working with for maybe 5 months, and nothing that we did together was working. And finally, about 3 months into it, I kept saying, I think maybe you should fire me because I'm really not helping you. And he said, no, this is good for me. Even if all we do is talk about it, it's got to work. And what he wanted was to attract a relationship, and he's was in his early 50s and had never been married, and the type of relationship that he wanted to manifest, since what I do is help people use intentionality to create what they want, was really this fantasy that was so far off of the acceptance of people being human and all their human characteristics that it really gotten to the point where I had to just point blank say, I don't know if this dream woman that you're talking about actually exists. And here I am supposed to be the torchbearer for all things are possible in the world. But we were not having any progress. So I had heard, I actually read Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, and tried to do a little bit of research, and that book just transformed my life as far as becoming aware of the levels of consciousness, and at what level of consciousness, whatever we're experiencing resonates with certain levels of consciousness. And when I got that map in front of me from his book, Power versus Force, it was like this entire world of awareness opened up to me. And so I started researching his information and found his meridian-type methodology called attractor field technique, and followed that and found EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. And what that is, emotional freedom technique, is a process of tapping on the body's meridian system, the same system that Oriental medicine practitioners have used in acupuncture and acupressure for thousands of years. And it's the same system, but instead of using needles or pressure, you use an algorithm of tapping. It's a very simple recipe of tapping on the body's meridian system. But what it seems to be doing when you tap on these particular points and use intention along with it is it seems to release the energy glitches that get held in place by our traumatic events or by the limiting beliefs that we hold. Well, so when I was working with my client, we started using EFT around a lot of his limiting beliefs about what kind of relationship he had to have, his limiting beliefs about him being too old, his limiting beliefs about he wasn't financially secure enough or where he wanted to be to have a wife and a family and all that. And long story short, week by week after week, we started seeing more and more progress. He started opening up to other possibilities, and he started going on more dates, and he started feeling more hopeful about his life in general, and sure enough, prosperity began to really flow his way. And we continued this for about, I want to say 5 to 6 months. Well, within that time, he met the woman that he's now with, and here it is 9 years later. And I took that and went, well, maybe this can help some of my other clients. And so, of course, I started branching out and saying, well, I've got this experimental thing. It's really goofy. It's really weird. We're going to tap on your body's meridian systems while we talk. And, if it works, great. If it doesn't, you know what, we'll throw it out the window. And one by one, each and every client started experiencing incredible transformations. One client was looking at massive bankruptcy because his business partner had flown the coop, so to speak, with all of his money and the payroll. So not only did he have taxes to pay and not enough money to fulfill the governmental contracts that he had in the queue, but he also couldn't pay his employees, and he was going to have to answer to where'd all that money go, even though his business partner was the one that had left the country. So we started just tapping on whatever we could get our hands on, and within 6 weeks, he had resolved all of his delinquent debts. He had patched up the relationship with some of the government contracts and pulled his home and his truck and everything out of hock. And so it was really significant, the changes that it had on him. And then I still hadn't used it very much on myself, but I decided to start using it on myself because I felt like a little bit like a hypocrite. I was going to see, hey, you guys, y'all are my guinea pigs, and I wouldn't use it on myself. So I started using EFT on myself and my family, and ended up experiencing such rapid transformation as compared to my previous methodologies for applying law of attraction, which looked like just holding an intent in mindfulness or sketching it out in a journal and a notepad and then hoping that my limiting beliefs would stay out of the way. And so emotional freedom technique still defies a lot of logic. There isn't any real scientific, empirical way to say this creates this, and yet when a person starts to study and research emotional freedom technique, there are now hundreds of studies that are being done inside both allopathic medicine institutions as well as universities, as well as independent studies that Gary Craig, the founder, who is now retired, initially launched around what it could do for people that have been diagnosed with terminal cancer and severe diabetes and heart disease and other ailments. And so what I hope tonight we'll be able to have an opportunity to really talk about is how to integrate these incredible technologies that have such life-transforming potential, and then go home and really apply it in our everyday lives. So it's not some far-off idea about how to create change in our life locally, but also globally. But it's also something that we can take home and apply. What do you think, Peggy?
Well, I use EFT every day to align myself if I get out of balance. For example, yesterday I came from the mountains and we had hauled horses, and I was dirty and tired and it was hot, and I didn't quite have a headache, but I was getting really irritable and my body was overheated, and I got home and when I stopped and slowed down, I realized that I was really out of balance. and I thought, oh, gee, I need to take a shower, take a nap. What am I going to do to get back in balance quickly? And I did it within a minute, because I stopped and I did what you call the basic recipe tapping.
Yes.
And within a minute, I was calm, and I was no longer irritable. My mind was at peace, and my body was relaxed. I was just amazed. It was almost like I had already done the shower and the nap. So I love to use it in that way.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because oftentimes those of us who follow EFT and apply it will often do it when we're hurting or when we're in pain or when we're facing an obstacle, but we don't necessarily remember to use EFT as a method for eliminating stress in the moment, or, as you said, even rebalancing your energies so that you're completely refreshed and ready to go again.
Yes, I love that, to be able then to just completely relax and it be a quite enjoyable moment, or actually 30 minutes or so in my rocker on the front porch.
Absolutely.
Totally feeling at peace,